Alright guys, welcome to another episode. We're here with Paul from Max Ordinate Academy. What city are we in right now?
Lucerne Valley.
Lucerne Valley. It's alright, your voice will come back.
Oh,
we'll make you some tea later. We're out here to do some sniper training and learn a lot of shit. This is also going to be a 3-part series because this is going to be more than an hour and a half worth of footage. It could possibly even be a 4-part series, so stay tuned.
What's your background? What do you know?
I know really well.
Okay. What else do you know?
I can effectively hit 700 yards.
Okay. With wind, with no wind, with
No wind.
408 Shy-Tac?
308.
Okay. All right, so no wind. So as far as shooting, precision, long range, what fundamentals are you aware of right now?
Trigger control.
Okay.
Safety, what's beyond my target, basic fundamentals of long distance. Pistol, carbine, all day long. But long distance, it's something I've dicked with since I was a kid, but never really gotten to precision.
And what about your optic? How much do you know about it?
Diddly.
Okay. All right. So we'll start with the rifle. All right. What is your primary rifle right now?
308 with the Schmidt and Bender something.
308 with the Schmidt and Bender. Okay. So what measurement is your rifle or your scope in?
I want to say MOA.
For Schmidt and Bender?
Want me to grab it?
No, we'll look at it soon, but I'm pretty sure it'd be mils.
Might be mils.
I've never seen a Schmidt and Bender in minutes. So minutes is used here. Schmidt and Bender is a European scope, and they don't use minutes in Europe. Mils is metric, minutes is standard.
Okay.
Right? So things that we'll talk about. All right, we're going to do a lot of fundamentals, wind, and understanding how to use your reticle, make corrections, things like that. So we have a few things that we need to work on. So we have bone support, muscle relaxation, natural point of aim, right? Now trigger control, breathing, all of those things come into play, okay? But we need to start working on these three, and before we can master those and make our rifle do what we want, the rifle has to be set up correctly for us. Does that make sense? As far as setting the rifle up, right? Most rifles, from the trigger to the buttstock, the ability to adjust that length, right? So it's called length of pull. What is the reason that we want to set that?
Comfort.
Okay.
And making sure your eye relief's good.
Okay, so eye relief, right? The other part is mechanical operation. If your length of pull is set incorrectly, you can't reach the bolt without lifting your elbow off the ground. So set our length of pull. It's the first thing that we're doing. So we're going like this. Place the rifle here, reach forward. Can I get the palm on the grip? And can my finger get 90 degrees? When I say 90 degrees, I want this knuckle even with the trigger. Not back here, not up there, 90 degrees, that knuckle's even with the trigger. So once the length of pull is set, then we can adjust the scope for eye relief. So when we're talking about eye relief by itself, right, you have your optic and you have this beam of light coming out the back, right? It's called an exit pupil. So your exit pupil can change depending on what magnification you're on. So let's say for this scope, it's a 56 millimeter objective divided by magnification. So if I set it to 5 power, what's 56 divided by 5? 5x, about 11, right? So that exit pupil is 11 millimeters big. If I go to 25 power, now where are we at? It's called 2.2, okay? 2.2 millimeters. So which one's easier to see?
The 5X.
The 5X, right? So when we mount the scope, we want to be on 25 power because we want to be able to mount the scope so you can see at the hardest conditions. And if you power down, it's just going to get easier, right? But then there's also how you put the buttstock in your shoulder. So if you, it should be on your collarbone. So if you trace your jawline straight down, feel that spot, you're too far out. Come closer to your neck, right there. That spot right there is where the buttstock should sit. Then we got to think about vertical, right? If you let the buttstock drop, then your face is going to go closer to the scope. Well, it's pretty important that we have the buttstock in the right position, because when does recoil happen? When the bullet leaves the muzzle or when the primer struck. So we have X amount of time from here to there that if that barrel moves while the bullet's traveling down the barrel,
Your shot trajectory just changed.
yes, right? So we need not only consistency, but we need recoil to come straight back and settle back on target, right? So a lot of it has to do is where's the buttstock position vertically, because if it sits too low, more on your chest and less on your collarbone, your muzzle's gonna jump every shot, right? So you're gonna fling rounds high. If your body's not aligned with the rifle, then you're only applying pressure on one side of the stock. So then the side with less pressure, the rifle's gonna jump that direction. Does that make sense? Okay, so we set our length of pull, we get into a good position where that buttstock's up on that collarbone and it's high. The top half inch of the stock shouldn't touch your body. Probably won't if it's in the right position. You're gonna drop your cheek piece. No one interfering. Drop your cheek piece. Then we can mount the scope max power so that you can get a good eye relief and see everything, full field of view through the scope, right? Then we can set the cheek piece once the scope is mounted, right? Now, putting you in that position, it might feel different, might feel weird, but that scope is set to a point where if you're not in that same position every single time, you're not gonna be able to see. You're gonna see shadowing, or you're gonna see, you know, a blurry image, something like that. Okay, so if you're too close, you're just gonna see this tiny field of view that dances around inside the scope. If you're too far away, you're gonna see shadowing all the way around, right? So the location of the scope is gonna force you to get that good position every single time, right? And then after the shot, you press the trigger, bang, rifle fires. If your reticle goes outside of a 1 mil bubble. So let's look at a reticle here for a second.
Yep.
Alright. So when you shoot, see this line? That's 1 mil. That's 1 mil. That's 1 mil. That's 1 mil. In all directions, that's 1 mil. Right? When we take a shot, we're aiming center of the target. And we absorb recoil, we settle back down. You want the target to fall inside that 1 mil bubble. That lets us know that we manage recoil the right way, our body alignment's good, the buttstock's in the right spot. If we're outside of that, then we need to diagnose and figure out what happened. Take, for example, you take a shot, you're right-hander?
Yep.
All right, so you're a right-handed shooter. You take a shot and your crosshair is now 3 mils to the right of the target. Your crosshair is right of the target. So this is the 3 mil mark right here. What does that tell us?
I jerk.
No, doesn't mean anything about you jerking. If you jerk the trigger, that's a reaction, and that's an influence that happens before the shot. Where the reticle settles down is the result of recoil, the recoil management, right? So this is our target. We aim center, bang. Through recoil, you end up over here. What's that tell us? Remember, recoil is energy.
The way the buttstock's positioned and the cheek weld is positioned.
There you go, okay? So it means that the buttstock didn't drop because you stayed even on a horizontal plane, right? But you also jumped on that horizontal plane. So as a right-handed shooter, all of your body pressure was here. There was no pressure there. So when you shoot, recoil happens and it makes the muzzle want to straighten out with that pressure, right? So that should tell you you need to check your body alignment. You need to check that position of the stock, right? And we're looking for that 1 mil recoil where you settle back on target and the target's inside that box, okay? So we set the scope up, we got our length to pull, we got our cheek piece set. What's the cheek piece for?
Keeps your eye position in the same place.
Okay, so we're looking for consistency, right? Every single time you get behind that rifle, your head drops down. 1, your neck, not holding your head up, you're not straining. 2, every single shot is going to be more like the previous one because you guarantee that you're looking through the same spot, right? You can't press your face down, you won't be able to see. If you lift your head up, you won't be able to see. That cheek piece is basically keeping your head in the position it's supposed to be, all right? So recoil management, cheek piece to support the head, scope mounted so that you can see on all magnification, right? And it's going to force you to have that good position. And then we talk about the trigger press, right? Getting 90 degrees. So that big knuckle, 90 degrees with the trigger so that we can press straight back, right? Now let's talk about sight alignment and sight picture. What is the difference and what are they?
Sight pictures, whatever the hell I'm looking at, I assume.
Whatever you put your crosshair on.
Correct.
Right? Sight alignment?
Is the sight canted one way or the other?
Okay, so rifle straight up and down.
Okay.
All right. Sight alignment would be where eye relief. If your head's too far away, what do you see?
Black.
Shadowing all the way around, right? You might still see something, but you're gonna have shadow. Sight alignment is your head is off center of the optic in one direction. It's high, it's low, it's left, it's right, which is gonna cause shadowing on one side of the scope, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we need to have good sight alignment, and then sight picture is our ability to aim at the target where we want to fire. So we got to put those together. Now, how about breathing? Remember, everything that you do should be on the basis of how can I be consistent. So when we breathe, we want to inhale, we want to exhale, our body will naturally pause. So for a 3 to 5 second window, you have the ability to shoot every single shot very similar to the previous one. But it's a natural respiratory pause. It's not a forced let everything out. The way that you're sitting here right now, you're breathing in, you get to the top of your breathing cycle, you exhale, and then your body will pause. So that is our window to shoot. It is also our window to make micro adjustments with our rear bag. Our rear bag is controlling the rifle, supporting the rifle. 95% of that bag should be doing all of the work for you, and then 5% is squeezing. So thumb on rifle, fingers on bag, locking them together. They are touching the ground. So you are locking that rifle into the ground, into a stable position. After we get through the breathing part, we got our natural respiratory pause, now we start thinking about trigger press. So not only is it 90 degrees, but we have two types of trigger press that we can work with. We have uninterrupted, which is the moment you start to press, it is continuous all the way back. And then we have interrupted, where maybe we're shooting mover, maybe we're shooting from an unstable position. Whatever the case is, your sight picture is there, then it moves. Your sight picture is there, then it moves, right? You have instability. So you apply pressure and wait. It's kind of like a two-stage trigger. Take up that first stage, you hold at the wall, wait, wait, wait. When you get the sight picture you want, continue. So how fast is your trigger press supposed to be?
Slow and consistent.
Okay, so what are we looking for?
Even press.
Okay. You should be focused on that reticle, right? So focused on the crosshair that as you are applying the trigger pressure, if you are forcing that rifle or reticle to move when pressing, you should be able to notice that and stop. Say, what am I doing wrong? It's not this, it's not, oh, my target paying, right? It should be fast enough that you can recognize any movement in the crosshair. Got it? Mm-hmm. Set the rifle up the right way, focus on your breathing, everything optically looks good. Sight picture, sight alignment, no scope shadow, cheek resting here, proper positioning on the collarbone, you got your breathing under control, and you press the shot. And that's it, that's a perfect shot. Sounds easy, right? Okay, so let's talk about the optic for a second. So this is adjusting our elevation, right? And then on the side, we can adjust windage. But what is it adjusting? I know the reticle's moving, but what are we adjusting when we move those dials?
So when you're adjusting the windage or the elevation, you're compensating for the difference between the barrel and where the reticle is sitting. Starters.
Think very, very basic. When I turn this dial this way, the numbers are increasing.
Correct.
What's happening?
You're going up.
Your bullet's going up, right? So we're adjusting the impact of the bullet with the elevation and the windage, okay? Now, what is the parallax? So we have two types of focus on the scope. We have our diopter focus, which is, I don't know what your eyes are prescription set for. You might have 20/20, you might have 20/10, you might have fucked up eyes, right? So we can adjust the diopter so that the reticle is always in focus for you, right? Every time you get behind the rifle, reticle in focus, in focus, in focus. You never have to adjust it once it's adjusted. The way we adjust it, you can throw a piece of paper behind it and turn it to the left until the reticle blurs out. Slowly bring it back to the right until it's crisp, in focus. Like you relax your eye, you just look at it, go double vision, let this focus for you. But we want that reticle to be effortless when we stare at it. Once you've got the diopter focus, right, that's for the crosshair. Then you have the parallax or target, right? So parallax, easy to understand. Hold this right here. Now I want you to stand up and I want you to look at that target with your crosshair, all right? You got it?
Yep.
Now hold that paper in place, but move your head left, right, up, down. Does the crosshair stay on the target?
Nope.
That's parallax. Your target is on one plane, your reticle's on another. So when we adjust this knob, you are bringing the reticle and target together.
Got it.
So put them on top of each other, all the way down. When we have the perfect parallax, that's what it will look like. Now move your head around. Does the reticle move?
Nope.
So parallax is the target and the reticle are on two different planes of space. We need to bring them together. Every distance, that's going to change. So we shoot 100 yards, we have to adjust. We shoot 200 yards, we have to adjust. So if the reticle is set for your eye and it's always in focus, if we stare at the crosshair and we adjust our parallax, what should we notice as we look at that target? Reticle that you're staring at is in focus, but everything behind it, just like your eyes, just like a camera works, everything behind it's blurry, everything in front of it's blurry, right? Only at the line where your reticle's at is everything clear, right? So we are adjusting parallax to bring that target to the crosshair. Therefore, the target should become clear, but you have to focus on the reticle. We're laying down, we've been shooting all day, and this happens. People tell me, Tyler, I can't see my reticle. What do you think the problem is?
Parallax.
So what does it mean when they are unable to identify the reticle anymore? The reticle is set for their eye. The parallax has nothing to do with the crosshair. They're staring at the target. Your eye can only focus at one distance at a time. So if you stare at the target, reticle goes blurry. If you stare at the reticle, target's blurry. Now you can adjust the target to the reticle, but you can't stare at the target and adjust the reticle to it. Does that make sense? Okay, so you're always focused on the reticle and adjusting parallax until
Shoot the target.
Yep. Pull that target towards the crosshair and it should clear up, right? It will get clear. So then you can see all the detail on the target. You're staring at the reticle, they're on the same plane, and now you don't have to worry about if your head moves, is that crosshair aiming where I want it to go? So every distance that parallax has to be set. So, we've got our diopter, our magnification, our objective which gathers light, right? Parallax knob and how to use it. So how about measurements? We have minutes and we have mils, right? But what kind of measurements are they? So they're called angular units of measure. Does that term mean anything to you?
Not really.
Okay, so an angular unit of measure is, let's think about what a linear measurement is, right? A linear measurement can be this. I mean, I'm a dude, so I can lie, but let's call that 1 inch. Let's call that 12 inches or 1 foot, right? That's a linear measurement. Linear measurement means 12 inches here is fucking 12 inches at 1,000 yards. It's a straight line. 12 inches is 12 inches, it never changes. Whereas an angular unit of measure is this, okay? This can be 1 mil. At 100 yards, the value of 1 mil is 3.6 inches. The farther you go out, the more distance that mil is going to cover. So at 200, 7.2, 300, 10.8, right? That's from here to there. So a mil and a minute is an angular unit of measure. The farther you go out in distance, the bigger value it has. But it's still just what? Still just 1 mil or 1 minute, right? Whereas if you're looking at 100 yards, and I'm like, that's 1 inch. If I look at 200 yards, 1 inch is gonna look significantly smaller, right? Okay, whereas we look at mils, this is mils. So let's say that's our target right there, right? You take a shot. Each one of these little hash marks underneath the crosshair are 0.2.
Okay.
How do we know that? For this particular reticle, every reticle is different. But these big hash marks equal 1 mil, right? Mm-hmm. You can look down here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you follow these big lines up. Each one of those is 1. Mils is broken down into tens, metric system. So if I got 5 hash marks inside of there, then it should tell me that each one is a value of 0.2, right? So let's say you take a shot and you miss off the left side by 0.8. What's your correction? What piece of information are you missing right now to make that correction? Your aiming center, you hit there.
Got it.
So put our crosshair back where we aimed and we measure. How much did you miss left?
1.3 mils.
1.3. Let's count. Each big one is 1, right?
Yep.
0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8. You are 1.8 left. That's how much you missed by. What's your correction?
1.8 clicks back the other way.
Okay, 1.8 mils?
Yeah.
Right? Or you can just hold. You can use your reticle the same way you would dial, right? But you don't need to know the distance. Why? At no point did I tell you what distance we're shooting. Now, if I would have said, hey, you missed 2 feet to the left, what does that mean? We have no idea,
Doesn't
because
shit you.
now you need to know the distance that we're shooting to convert feet to an angular measurement, right?
Got it.
Okay, so we stick with minutes or mils, whatever your reticle's in, and that's how we measure. And we don't need distance anymore, because 1.8 at 300 is still going to measure out the same as 1.8 at 1,000. The value might be different, but when you're looking through your crosshair and you look at that reticle and you count those hash marks, you just count whatever it is that you saw, and that's your correction, right? The only thing changing is the value. But we have to understand how the reticle works, how your reticle works, right? So you have a Schmidt Bender and you said you have a Christmas tree. Does it look like this, identical? Does it look like this?
I want to say it's more like that one.
Okay, so look at that one. Tell me what the spacing of each of those is.
Mils?
Okay, so it's a mil reticle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the spacing of every little hash mark? We start from big features and we work our way down. We need to know everything about this crosshair. So if the big hash marks are 1,
And each one is 2.
0.2. Perfect. Okay. So now we can take a look at your reticle and see what you're dealing with. Maybe it's the same one. Maybe it's not. It might be something different, right? But we need to be able to understand it so that we can use it. Do we need to dial, or can we use the reticle? Or can we use both?
Both.
Okay. As long as they match, right? There's very little math that's involved.
Correct.
So you dial for whatever the distance is. You shoot your low 0.6, what do? You go up 0.6, or you can dial 0.6, right? The reticle and the turrets match. Same thing with wind. Take a shot, we miss off the right 0.5, we can either hold left 0.5 or we can dial left 0.5. So the only other thing that we need to pay attention to is how your turrets are set up. Because you have a Schmidt Bender, it is very possible that you have European turrets, okay? So these are American style. American style is counterclockwise.
Okay.
So if I want to go up, counterclockwise.
Okay.
If I want to go down, clockwise. European scopes are completely backwards. For the windage, push left, meaning put your hand on here.
Mm-hmm.
If your thumb is going away from you, push left. Bullet's going left.
Okay.
Thumb coming towards you, pull right.
Got it.
Okay? So once we look at your scope and figure out what we're dealing with, hopefully it's American. But if
I have an American on my 6.5.
so we'll take a look at it. We'll see what we
I
find
got
out.
options.
The scope will function just fine. It's just going to be backwards from what everybody else does.
Got it.
So we'll look at the reticle, all right? But think about being in the prone position. So here's your rifle, here's your bipods, here's your scope, okay? And then there's you. So here's your head, here's your rifle, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Then your body comes down, here's your legs, here's your arms coming up. What do you see?
I'm left of the rifle.
Well, you're always going to be left of the rifle slightly. There's a straight line between you and the rifle, right? There's a connection between you two now. You guys operate as one. You want that connection to be true all the time. Every time you shoot, recoil comes back, settles back on target. If you're not working together, rifle's going to go where it wants, not where you want it. If you want the muzzle to go left, what do you have to do?
Go right.
What goes right?
My feet.
Your hips, right? So these go that way, right? Again, if this to your feet was attached, 2x4, cannot break that in the middle. To get this to go here, that's got to go there, right? Now, the other thing, look at the shoulders. Just because your hips are directly behind the rifle doesn't mean that your shoulders are square to the rifle. So that will affect your recoil management. So let me ask you this. Natural point of aim is I get down behind the rifle, look through the scope, relax. Wherever the rifle's aiming at that point, that is me and the rifle's natural point of aim. We want the natural point of aim to be on the target because now we have consistency, right? If you force the rifle to go without moving your body, now you're fighting the rifle. So we have body alignment and then we have natural point of aim. Can you have one without the other?
No.
Sure you can. If I get behind the rifle with my body at an angle, get settled down, relax, look through the scope, and let the rifle go where it wants. There will be a point where that crosshair settles down and just stops. That's my natural point of aim. But my body alignment's all fucked up. So natural point of aim helps us be consistent, right? Aim at the target naturally. Body alignment controls recoil. Okay, how we can manage that recoil the same way every time, right? So they are two different things, and we need to understand that. All right, so we can do more about wind and shit like that after we get your rifle set up and we work on some fundamental drills. No reason to overload your brain right now. So that's the first thing I want to do is get you and all of your rifles set up the right way. So that means length of pull. If it has an adjustment, we're going to change it. If we can move the scope to fix your eye relief with good position, we're going to change it. Diopter, we're going to change it. We're going to everything set up for you and matches your last name. Okay.
Oh shit.
So it's a paint pen. Once we get your scope set up, we're going to mark certain spots with a paint pen so you know where they're always supposed to be. If somebody else gets on your rifle and starts turning shit that's not supposed to be turned.
Gotcha.
Head outside, pull out some shooting mats, and we'll get started with that.